Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, so today we're embarking on, well, one of humanity's really big quests, right? Finding true, unshakable happiness. And what makes this deep dive, I think, really fascinating is the blend of sources we're digging into. We've got ancient Jewish spiritual teachings, and then, side by side, modern quantum physics. Pretty mind-bending stuff.
That's right. And our mission here really is to pull out the essential nuggets, how happiness isn't just this fleeting emotion you chase, not something you just catch now and then. It instead is presented as a state you actually cultivate, a conscious choice, something you practice daily, regardless of what life throws your way.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're drawing a lot from Rabbi Shlomo Ezagui's work, The Jewish and Quantum Blueprint for Unshakable Happiness. It's gotten some real attention, featured on places like Israel National News, Times of Israel.
So if you're looking for maybe a clearer path to understanding this whole thing, get ready for some surprising links, some really thought-provoking ideas, and honestly, some very practical insights. Let's dive right in.
Okay, so before we go any further, these sources, they really push us to redefine happiness itself, don't they? It's not, like you said, tied to your circumstances or, just luck or even getting approval from others. And here's where it gets really interesting for me. It's all about intentional cultivation, something you build from the inside out.
Exactly. And what's so powerful, I find, is how consistent this idea is. Across ancient wisdom and modern thinking, our reality is, well, profoundly shaped by where we choose to put our focus. Our perspective matters. Our intention matters. The Baal Shem Tov, the founder of the Hasidic movement, 18th century, he taught, where a person's thoughts dwell is where they truly live. It's a powerful line.
Yeah.
So if your thoughts are always on the negative, the anxiety, the resentment, well, those things tend to get bigger. They dominate your inner world. But if you intentionally shift your focus towards gratitude, maybe possibility, hope, you're basically laying a stronger foundation, more resilient, for lasting happiness.
That's a huge idea. Okay, so what does this actually mean for you listening, practically? Like when you start your day, how can someone apply this right away, this idea of intentional focus?
Well, often it's simpler than we think. Spiritual leaders, like Rabbi Menachem Schneerson, for instance, they really encourage starting the day with Moda Ani. It's a very short, ancient Jewish prayer. You say it the moment you wake up, expressing gratitude. It's not just like a ritual. It's an intentional act. Right away, claiming happiness. And it connects to that broader principle in the Torah, and you should rejoice in all the good. So the simple thing, it just instantly shifts your focus to what's present and good. Instead of dwelling on maybe what's lost or what's difficult, it kind of sets a positive energy for the whole day.
Okay, but we all know life isn't always, smooth sailing. Far from it sometimes. Disappointments happen, betrayals, just tough times. They're inevitable, right? So how do these big challenges fit into this blueprint for happiness? Does it mean you just ignore them or pretend they don't exist?
No, not at all. And this is where the wisdom gets, well, pretty counterintuitive and actually quite liberating. The insight here is that within every challenge, there really is an opportunity. Hidden, maybe, but there. The sources remind us, from God cannot come any evil, which suggests that even in the difficulty, there's a chance to strengthen that happiness muscle. See, true happiness isn't built by constant ease. It's built through perseverance, through resilience when things are hard. And what's really transformative here is the emphasis on actively letting go of old hurts, consciously accepting that there might be a bigger benevolent plan at work. And that act of release, it frees up so much energy that was tied up in resentment or regret, and it redirects it towards growth, towards moving forward.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, holding on to past hurts definitely drains your present energy. I feel that. But what about other common pitfalls? Things you see that keep people stuck, maybe? Keep them from that inner peace, especially when facing those challenges.
Two very common ones jump out. Impatience and comparison. The source wisely reminds us everything God does is in its proper time. Our impatience, wanting results now, it can really undermine our inner peace. We push, we try to force things, and then we get frustrated when it's not on our schedule. And comparison, that's a huge peace killer. When we're constantly measuring our own unique path against someone else's curated highlights, it just breeds anxiety, doesn't it? It pulls us away from seeing the value, the purpose in our own progress, makes us feel like we're behind or not enough. But those seasons of waiting, of maybe quiet growth, they aren't just delays. They're essential phases. They shape our character. Like, a seed needs time underground before it sprouts.
Okay, so if I'm hearing this right, it's about getting that true happiness isn't really found in the external stuff. Not in the temporary pleasures like, achievements or getting more possessions. But it's a lasting fulfillment, something that comes from within.
Precisely, yes. And that understanding, it naturally leads us to the really critical role of habits, cultivating joy through intentional daily habits. The source uses this powerful metaphor, agricultural one. The mind is like a fertile field. What is planted grows. Simple, but profound, right? If you keep planting seeds of complaint, criticism, bitterness, you're going to cultivate unrest, unhappiness. But if you consciously choose to plant different seeds, gratitude, faith, purposeful actions, positive actions, you will inevitably harvest peace, contentment, joy.
That's incredible practical. That translates right into daily life, doesn't it? It means living intentionally, like really choosing activities, relationships, even the mindsets that help you grow. And maybe just as importantly, consciously saying no or letting go of things that feel trivial or inauthentic or just don't serve your higher purpose.
Exactly, because joy isn't some, rare lightning strike. It's not just for the lucky few. It's a habit. It's actually a skill you cultivate through daily repetition, through structured routines. Think about Jewish law, halakha. It guides us with these consistent practices, daily prayer, specific blessings, rituals. Over time, these things literally start to rewire our mental and spiritual defaults towards positivity, towards connection. It's like daily training for the soul.
And practically, that could mean something as basic as just reclaiming your mornings, right? Using that time for reflection, maybe prayer, setting clear intentions for the day. That's how you kind of set the emotional tone. And then during the day, it's about checking in, monitoring, maybe gently adjusting your emotional state. Maybe that's a quick walk, a moment of quiet prayer, or just pausing to notice something you're grateful for.
And that intentionality, it even goes into the evening. There's a special evening reflection prayer in Jewish tradition. It includes forgiving ourselves and forgiving others, which further strengthens that routine of emotional and spiritual maintenance. And the amazing thing is, when you practice these habits consistently, they don't just shift your mindset. They can literally start to change the nervous system. That's what the source suggests. So that regularity promotes a steady, resilient kind of joy, not those wild emotional swings.
Okay, and there's another really key aspect here the source brings up. Letting go of needing universal approval. That's such a powerful point. Your worth isn't defined by applause or validation from others. It just isn't. Living authentically means staying true to your own mission, your values. And that frees you, doesn't it, from that exhausting burden of constantly seeking external judgment. Make space for real joy. Now, let's shift gears a bit, explore something really mind-bending. We've talked ancient spiritual wisdom, but what does modern physics have to say, specifically quantum mechanics? What does it say about this inner blueprint for happiness? This is where the deep dive gets really fascinating.
It's incredibly profound. Yeah, the parallels are just striking. Quantum mechanics shows us that even what looks like empty space, nothing. It's actually teeming with invisible intelligent energy, like a vibrant sea of potential. And this mirrors spiritual teachings, doesn't it? That tell us God is omnipresent, creatively embedded in every single moment, every atom, every experience. It suggests consciousness isn't just something the brain does, but maybe a fundamental aspect of reality itself.
Wow. Okay, that's a huge concept to sort of wrap our heads around. Can you give us maybe a concrete example from quantum physics, something that helps us grasp this idea of omnipresent energy, fundamental connection, maybe makes it feel more tangible?
Absolutely. Let's think about quantum entanglement. It's a famous one. Imagine, two coins, separate coins, miles apart. You flip one coin, and instantly, without any signal passing between them that we can see, the other coin always lands on the opposite side. It's like they're still secretly, mysteriously linked. Now, that's a simplified picture, but it captures the essence of entanglement. Particles behaving as one, instantly connected no matter the distance. So what's the takeaway for your happiness in this? Well, just as those particles are fundamentally connected, our spiritual teachings suggest we are too, intrinsically linked to a divine omnipresent force. And understanding that, really internalizing it, can fundamentally shift how you see loneliness or isolation. It can foster a deeper sense of belonging, of purpose, of inner peace, knowing you're part of this intricately connected reality. So, yeah, both ancient wisdom and modern physics seem to agree here. The universe is this unified realm of vibrating energy, a living expression of that creative force, which, spiritual traditions call God.
So this huge cosmic view, it connects right back to the individual, to you listening.
It does, very intimately. Chasidus, the mystical branch of Judaism, teaches that absolutely nothing exists outside of God. And crucially, every single soul contains an actual spark, a spark of divinity. So this is fundamental for understanding emuna. That's the Hebrew word we often translate as faith. But it's not blind hope, not just wishing for something good. Emuna is more like a deeply rooted confidence, stemming from a clear understanding of your own integral role in this cosmic, intelligent, unified reality. And in that light, Prayer changes, doesn't it? It's not just asking for stuff. It becomes more like a vibrant partnership with the endless possibilities embedded in creation itself, because you're connecting with that divine spark within you and within everything. And this leads us to a really deep principle in Jewish thought called bittul. At its core, bittul means self-nullification, which sounds maybe intense, but it really means consciously stepping back from your personal ego, your individual wants and needs, your sense of absolute control. It's about recognizing you're part of something infinitely larger and allowing that greater reality, that truth, to guide you.
And quantum mechanics actually offers a kind of parallel here. It shows how particles can harmonize, coexist in ways that classical physics just couldn't imagine, that old view where everything was separate and predictable. So this illustrates how a person can let go of that personal neediness, that self-centeredness, and align instead with a transcendent, unifying source. And this act of surrender, this bittul, it opens channels for blessings, for a genuine inner freedom.
That is a huge shift, especially for us humans, right?
Yeah.
We often crave control so much, particularly over the future. We want certainty.
Absolutely. And classical physics, Newtonian physics, it kind of fed that desire. It suggested predictable outcomes. If you just knew all the variables, the universe is the giant clockwork machine. But then the quantum mechanics came along and just shattered that notion. It introduced uncertainty, probabilities. Reality isn't fixed until choices are made, measurements are taken, even in the tiniest level. And this unpredictability, it serves as a really powerful metaphor for spiritual life. Instead of striving for absolute certainty, for total control over how things turn out, Emunah, that rooted confidence, allows us to surrender those results to God, whose wisdom, whose oversight is just far beyond our limited understanding. And this raises a really important question for all of us, doesn't it? What if letting go of the need for control is actually the most direct path to peace? Believing this genuinely frees us from that anxiety, that constant need to see everything clearly right now. It encourages peace, trust in divine timing, in a plan that's always ultimately working for the good.
Wow. That is such a powerful, immediate perspective. For anyone feeling anxious or overwhelmed about what's next, it really brings it back to the present.
It truly does, and it echoes that wisdom of Rabbi Akiva's teacher, Nachum Ish Gamzu. He famously taught Gamzu Latova, which means this too is for the good. It's not just a hope for the future. It's an assertion that everything is good right now in this present moment, even if we can't see how just yet.
And this idea, then, it must give tremendous significance to our individual actions, our choices, right?
Right.
If we're so connected to this larger reality.
Profoundly so.
Yeah.
Yes. The great Jewish philosopher Maimonides taught exactly that everything depends on God's ongoing presence, and each action carries immense significance. So aligning ourselves with God, being mindful of that divine presence in every person, every situation, recognizing that stark within ourselves and others. That's both a spiritual practice and a practical one. This mindfulness actively influences the level of God's presence, the level of blessings in our lives. And in this state of alignment, things like humility, even silence, they become powerful tools. They demonstrate genuine certainty and purpose, ironically.
So, okay, after this incredible journey, ancient wisdom, modern science, what does this all mean for you listening as you move forward? How do we kind of pull this together into a practical blueprint for that unshakable joy?
Well, I think it means really understanding that consistent, intentional practice.
Yeah.
It matters hugely. Practice of gratitude, practice of emunah, that rooted confidence, practice of purposeful choices. These things can literally start to rewire your nervous system, your mental outlook. This is how you can transform anxiety, dissatisfaction into deep peace, lasting fulfillment. The sources powerfully remind us our soul is powered by God's energy, the very same creative force that, brought the universe into being. Understanding that deep personal connection, it's profoundly empowering.
And it all seems to culminate in that truly profound statement from our core source: God's presence dwells only where there is joy and happiness.
It feels like a call to action, doesn't it?
Yeah.
To actively cultivate that joy.
Exactly. That's it. The wisdom of Jewish spiritual tradition, especially when it blends so uniquely with these insights from quantum mechanics, it gives us this holistic view of reality, a reality unified by purpose, by presence. And it genuinely helps us build a happiness that rests on an unshakable foundation, one that external changes, life's ups and downs, simply cannot touch in the same way. All right, let's leave you with one final provocative thought then, something to carry forward from this deep dive.
Okay. Consider this. Just as quantum mechanics reveals, our universe is fundamentally made of intelligent, living energy. Spiritual tradition teaches us that everything is, in essence, a manifestation of God. Now, when you hold this unified understanding, really let it sink in, your personal resilience naturally increases. Your inner peace becomes more resilient, preserved through life's inevitable turbulence. And your pursuit of happiness starts to align not just with your own personal purpose, but with the profound unifying truth of divine presence itself.
Wow, definitely a lot to mull over there, for sure. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the Jewish and quantum blueprint for unshakable happiness. We genuinely hope you'll reflect on these incredible connections and maybe explore how these principles could truly transform your own journey towards happiness and self-improvement. Until next time.